I'm Oliver. Today, we're going to talk about the vulnerability paradox. Why your so called weakness is actually your superpower. So, from the time we are boys, we are given a set of rules about how to be a man. Be strong, don't cry, never show weakness, never let them see you sweat. We learn to build an armor around our hearts. We strive to be the unshakable rock, the stoic problem solver, the man who has it all figured out. We believe this armor is what makes us strong and therefore attractive. But then we find ourselves in our relationships, feeling a strange sense of isolation. The woman in our life might say things like, I feel like I don't really know you, or it's like there's a wall around you. We followed the rules, but it's leaving us disconnected and alone. We forget that armor doesn't just keep pain out, it also keeps love from getting in. Every time you say, I'm fine when you're not, or you choose silence instead of honesty, you tighten that armor just a little more, and soon, even you can't feel what's underneath anymore. Real strength isn't the absence of pain, it's the courage to stay open while facing it. What if those rules were wrong? What if the armor you've built is not a fortress, but a prison? What if I told you that the very thing you've been taught to hide, your vulnerability, is actually the secret key to unlocking deep trust, profound respect, and intense attraction? Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's truth without disguise. When you admit I'm scared or I don't have all the answers, something powerful happens. The other person feels safe to do the same. That's how real intimacy begins, not in perfection, but in shared humanity. Because deep down, what we crave most is not someone flawless, but someone real enough to let us be human too. Today, we are going to explore the vulnerability paradox. We will dismantle the myth that vulnerability is weakness. I'll show you the crucial difference between attractive, confident vulnerability and unattractive neediness, and how you can learn to be strong enough to be real. The biggest mistake men make is thinking that all vulnerability is the same. It is not. There are two very different kinds. The first is what I call unattractive vulnerability, or the leaky bucket. This is the vulnerability of a boy, not a man. It's complaining, whining, constantly seeking validation, and making a woman responsible for your emotional state. It comes from a place of insecurity. It is a communication that says, I am empty, I am broken, please fix me. This is the kind of vulnerability that men are rightly terrified of showing, because it is indeed unattractive. It places a huge burden on the woman and destroys polarity. But then there is attractive vulnerability, or what I call confident authenticity. This is the vulnerability of a man who is so grounded in his own self worth, so secure in his frame, that he is not afraid to show his imperfections. It is the confident disclosure of your inner world without expecting her to fix it. It's owning your flaws, admitting when you're wrong, sharing a past struggle. It comes from a place of profound strength. It is a communication that says, I am a whole and complete man, and I am strong enough to let you see all of me, the light and the shadow. This second kind of vulnerability is a superpower in relationships for three main reasons. One, it builds deep trust. Trust isn't built when you are perfect. It is built when you are real, when you have the courage to admit a fear, a mistake, or a past failure. You are giving her the ultimate gift of trust. You are showing her the man behind the armor. This act of bravery gives her permission to do the same. It short circuits the game of pretending and opens the door to genuine intimacy. 2. It proves your frame is strong. This is the paradox. A man who can't admit a weakness is a man with a brittle frame, terrified that one crack will shatter his entire identity. But a man who can openly say, I was nervous about that presentation, or I'm not sure I know the answer to that, is demonstrating that his self-worth is not dependent on being perfect. He is so confident in his core that a single imperfection doesn't threaten him. He proves his strength not by having no weaknesses, but by not being afraid of them. 3. It creates a powerful connection. When a man confidently shares his authentic self, it invites a woman's nurturing feminine energy. She is not being asked to be his mother or his therapist. She is being invited to connect with his heart. This is the very essence of emotional intimacy. She stops seeing you as a problem-solving machine and starts seeing you as a three-dimensional human being she can love, support, and connect with on the deepest level. So how do you practice this attractive, confident vulnerability without slipping into unattractive neediness? Rule number 1. Share your feeling, not your problem for her to solve. There is a huge difference between handing her a feeling and handing her a problem. Needy, unattractive. I'm so stressed about work. I don't know what to do. What do you think I should do? This makes her your consultant. Vulnerable, attractive. Work has been really intense lately, and I'm feeling pretty stressed. This shares your emotional state without making her responsible for the solution. You're inviting her to connect with your feeling. I'm here with you, not to do your work for you. Rule number 2. Own your mistakes quickly and cleanly. One of the most powerful displays of a strong frame is the ability to admit when you are wrong, without excuses. The weak man blames, deflects, and justifies. The strong man owns his actions. The action plan. The next time you mess up, try this. Look her in the eye and say, you were right. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Don't add a but. Don't explain why it wasn't really your fault. Just a clean, simple admission. This doesn't make you look weak. It makes you look incredibly strong, honest, and trustworthy. Rule number 3. Share a story, not a complaint. A great way to show vulnerability is to share stories that have shaped you, including your struggles and failures. The action plan. Instead of complaining about your current situation, share a story about a past challenge. You know, this situation reminds me of a time in my early 20s when I completely failed at a project. I was terrified. This gives her a window into your soul. It shows her what you're made of, how you've grown, and what you've overcome. It makes you a hero of your own story, not a victim of your current circumstances. Vulnerability is not about what you say, it's about the strength from which you say it. Unattractive neediness comes from a place of emptiness, seeking to be filled. Attractive vulnerability comes from a place of fullness, willing to be seen. The world has taught you to build an armor, and that armor may have protected you in the past. But in an intimate relationship, that armor becomes a prison, isolating you from the very connection you crave. But here's the twist. Real strength isn't about never getting hurt. It's about daring to take the armor off and still stand tall. The armor might keep you safe, but it keeps love out. The world has enough men hiding behind a mask of perfection. What the world needs, and what a woman deeply desires, is a man who is strong enough to be real. Your realness, your imperfections, your story, that is not your weakness. That is your superpower. What is one small way you could practice confident vulnerability this week? Share it in the comments. And if you're ready to learn how to build real strength, make sure you subscribe.